Call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody to the Temple Terrace Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of February the 18th. It's good to see everybody here. I think our first order of business is to approve the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Minutes are adopted. We have an update from Florida ROI Commercial Property Brokerage. Eric Odom and John Lochner are here to provide an update. Hello. Good evening.
Council members, appreciate the time. It's been a while since we've had a discussion about the properties. And I'd like to introduce John. John's been with us now for about 3 years now, John? Yep. John's handling all of our inbound leads, and you probably would remember the Colonel before. Colonel's moved out of the area, and so John's is helping us now on the parcels. If you would be kind enough to put up the presentation. We have almost 3 years of history now with the, is it up?
He's working on it right now.
Okay.
Here we go.
We have a lot of history of the property now. It's been almost 3 years, and it's been now to 2 national retail development conferences. It's been to 2 state conferences. We've probably entertained, last I checked, we're well north of 100 legitimate folks that have come in and inquired. I'm not saying that they were ready to be proposed for y'all, but there's been a lot of activity on the site. But I don't want to spend a lot of time giving a real estate lecture today. My preference is, as we've done in the past, is just to give you a brief update on what's going on with the market, and then allow you guys to ask questions about what we think is going on in the market and what we think it's headed. Interest rates that we discussed last time they're actually higher than they were, and that's had a dampening effect for transactions across the real estate market. We also have a new issue that's popped up recently, and we're starting to see that filter through, and that's tariffs. The tariffs, the National Association, the Builders Association sent a letter last week to the president asking him to lower tariffs, particularly for housing. But we're expected to see a chilling effect in the development world over the next however many months it's going to be until we work through where we're going with these tariffs. So these are a couple of issues that we see sort of from a macro perspective that could affect going forward. Sellers right now, there's a difference in sellers and buyers in the market, so we've seen decrease in transactions, and of course, the construction costs have been considerably higher than they were when we took on this project, and so you've seen considerably lower numbers of transactions. That doesn't mean necessarily that there's not an appetite in the market. There definitely is. The challenge is you have tenants or developers, buyers, sellers. They're here and they're not at the same place. And so we're sort of working through this. The market tends not to like change. Is when things stable, even if the rates are higher, they'll adjust to that accordingly, and we'll free up some of the market. But right now we're in a period that's of a lot of fluctuation and a lot of uncertainty. So really, the last 6 to 9 months have been tough in the real estate market, particularly as for development. But we're seeing a lot of brands, particularly national brands, that are continuing to expand, and it's just taking longer to get deals done. Forgot we even had a presentation here, John. Just busy talking.
Turn it green.
Turn it green. All right, green is go. So we've talked about some of this. Retailers, they're expanding, but there is this reality of the difference between what sellers think they should be getting and what buyers and tenants need. And we're just working through that. It's just going to take some time to adjust to that. And retail is still where it's happening. We're not, the amount of growth that we've had in the country from population, and particularly in the state of Florida, has not kept pace with the development. It's outpaced what the development has been. So if you're an investor, it's a great place and time to be in the market, be holding real estate. The reality is that we're just the market's trying to catch up with that. John, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the activity on the parcels?
Sure. So specific to the parcels, this data is out of LoopNet. That is one of the listing sites that the parcels are listed on. This is for 8447, and it shows the number of daily views, or views per week. And you can see that it's not a lot on 8447. But when you get to 8901, you can see a significant increase here. So the type of interest we've had, the inquiries we've had run the gamut. And obviously, a lot of these types of businesses are not compliant with the city's CRA here, but some of them are. And just wanted to give you an idea of, the wide variety of interest in it. Specifically to 8901, we do have some parties that have taken it to the next step. So we're either in the process of vetting the developers or they're submitting information to us. So we have a pickleball upscale restaurant venue developer. We have an upscale restaurant developer. There's a national retail developer, and actually a hotel developer and a multifamily developer interested right now. And 8447 has, as mentioned, much less interest, but there is a party that has put together some preliminary site plans to try to figure it out. And this would be multi-use that includes retail with office on the second story, based on his current plans. So that's a quick overview.
So just like to open it up, if you guys have questions about what's going on, probably the biggest question I would imagine is, like, you guys have been at it for 3 years now. Like, where are we going? What are you thinking? Maybe you guys have your own ideas already about where we should be headed, but I think it's good for us to open it up and talk about that a little bit.
Council members, board members? What questions do we have? Board member Chambers.
Thank you. With our plans to develop the River Hills property into a park and redo that whole area, the retention area and all that, has that helped generate any interest in these things, or is these properties just standing alone?
I don't see a correlation between the River Hills development. I think developers are funny in the sense that they want to see a brick in the ground and then they react to it. So I think what you'll see, there's actual movement there, also with Baba's property to the north of that, we'll probably start seeing some uptick from the park specifically when you start seeing some activity there.
Okay,
Like
but
physical activity.
when you're presenting this to your clients or the potential clients, are you telling them about the redevelopment and trying to tie in our master plan to make everything walkable?
Yes, we are.
It's
Yeah.
part of our materials that are out there.
All right, very good, thank you. That's what I want to know.
And we really like I'd be careful with the vocabulary of how we describe the pond in the back,
Yeah.
but I love it. I mean, I think that's a selling point because it's an area that with a restaurant you could show that, look, you can bring your dogs or whatever, and you can walk around there, and there's a big wide open green space there. So yeah. for
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
Yep.
Board member Schisler.
Yes, in your presentation, you were talking about a value added. I can't remember the. Can you go back to the presentation, like the first or second slide? Yeah, the value added, the strip saw remains hot, especially with the value added component. Can you define that a little better for me?
Oh, yeah. And really, you guys are tied to what's going on in the retail investment market because that's sort of what dictates things. So it's really more of an indirect than a direct causation for you. Value add would be Baba's property, where he's coming in and trying to make an improvement in the physical appearance of the property and then trying to backfill with tenants. Yeah. And obviously, it's going to help us when you start seeing some activity on the leasing side there. My understanding is he still does not have his CO. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Allison?
No, I don't have any.
Nothing? I can't think of anything right off the top of my head that I don't know the answer to already, so.
Okay.
But thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it. Obviously, on your list of people who are interested, there's some of those that we would be interested in and some of them that we could probably tell you right now that we're not. But I think you have a good feel for that already, and our community development director certainly has a good feel. He's been dealing with it for an awful long time, so.
Okay.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you
Thank you so
very
much.
much. Thanks for being here. Next, we have a status update on the CRA from Community Development Director Greg Pauley. Good evening, Mr. Pauley.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Board. Once again, Greg Pauley, Community Development Director. I have a very brief presentation for you this evening. This involves the Checkers Quick Service Restaurant in the CRA located at 8800 North 56th Street, which is in the southwest quadrant of the CRA. On February 11th, representatives met with staff for a pre-application discussion. They are wishing to remodel the exterior appearance of their storefront, if you will. The proposed changes will modify only the appearance of the building exterior. It will not change the site, and there's nothing proposed that will change the building layout. With that said, I would like to show you these two images. The top left image is the one that most people are familiar with. That's kind of that 50 diners vibe that they've used for many years. They are transitioning to a new corporate model, which shows the larger image to the bottom right. They wish to, I'm going to call it, give the building a facelift, because this is all facade exterior appearance improvements. They're not changing anything structural with the building, and they're not changing anything with the site. So with that being said, I would like to put this in front of the board just so that you're familiar with it. If you have any feedback you'd like for me to carry back to the Checkers representatives, we'll be more than happy to do that. At this point, it probably looks like they'll be able to go straight to permitting for this project. Our code allows them to go straight to permitting provided their proposed improvements do not exceed 50% of the assessed value. So they understand that section of our code, and they tell us as of last week that they can work within that, not to trigger that full site review process. That'll help them get the project up and running quickly, less downtime for the restaurant, and of course, quicker processing as far as getting them through the approvals. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Pauley. Board members?
No?
I have one. I don't have any idea when this was built, but were there any special conditions of approval when that was originally approved, the site plan and all that was originally approved?
To be honest with you, I don't have that available for you right now. I can certainly follow up and get you that answer. I do believe that the development of Checkers predates our CRA.
Okay.
Which, of course, is why it didn't go through the same process that today's developers would be required to go through.
Okay. I mean, they're not asking for permission anyway, but.
No, it's well, obviously, they're asking for permission from the city as far as the, I'll call it the facelift
Yeah,
improvements.
but this is an
But
upgrade to the building. It's gonna, I mean, this is a good thing.
it's absolutely a good thing. I just didn't want a bunch of hammers and shovels and other work going on and have you not understand what's going on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But yeah, I see this as a good thing, so,
Very good.
good. Yes, Council Board Member Fernandez.
Well, I have something that I would like to ask the other board members about the CRA area.
Is it to do with this item or a new item?
No, not
Okay,
this item.
So let's make sure we're done
Yes.
with this one, and then we'll let you, we don't have anything else, so. Are we done?
I am done, sir. Again, I kind of float the question. If you have any comments or concerns regarding the remodel, I'll be more than happy to carry them back to the contractor. But without any objection from the board, I can go ahead and give them a thumbs up to proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pauley.
Thank you.
Board Member Fernandez.
So we had some conversation at the last council meeting about the park project for the River Hills Park space and the use of that. And so I want to float some thoughts. And that is, my husband and I, when we travel, we go to Jacksonville Beach, Hollywood Beach, Fort Myers, the Gulf Coast Center. And in those locations, they have a stage. It's a passive stage. You bring all of your own equipment. It's concrete, outdoors. And you have your green space around it. It's a gathering space. It's not huge. And I was thinking that for me, and based on the feedback that we got from various people, it seems like the park on the river that we're looking to develop would be best served, or the community would be best served, keeping that a very passive, nature-forward park with access to the boat ramp, access to a kayak launch and things like that, but not a band shell and very loud activities. But in the space, the open space that we have in the downtown area, that location would lend itself very well to having green space with a splash pad or a playground, with a stage. And I did get some pictures for reference from Hollywood Beach. The city there was very nice to send me some pictures, and from Fort Myers Gulf Coast. So this is Hollywood Beach, and you can see it's just a green space with a stage in front of it, but they keep it pretty activated. And this is they happen to have a boardwalk and a beach, so you've got the space people would walk on. But it's a concrete stage, and they do all kinds of entertainment there. And it's in a it's a very public space. It's not a residential space. So sound wise, I mean, I know they have sound ordinances. It's not as, you don't have a lot of houses around it. And then I don't know if you can, in the reel, all right, and then this is the Gulf Coast Town Center, and you can see they've got something similar. I just took this off of Google Earth. Where it's just a central gathering space, and they've got a concrete stage, and then there's some other, I think I sent over some other pictures. So they've got a little playground space, and then they've got a stage with, again, like basically just AstroTurf in front of it, and they host events there when we go. They have, and actually we just came from St. Augustine, where they have Colonial Oak Park with the stage, and they go off, they have a hard stop at 10 for the sound. But anyway, these are very commercial locations that seems like interfaces very well with having something like this. It's very active, but I don't know. I mean, it's something I think would add a lot of value to the area, but obviously, I don't know what your thoughts are.
What would we do with the project we already have?
You mean the one
The
going,
Riverside Park and
No.
and the Springdale?
saying, keep it going exactly as it is, or not maybe exactly, but be very nature oriented?
Oh, it is.
And
We're
not
putting a bench shell there.
Right, that's my point.
Yeah.
And then, so that's more like walking on the boardwalk, looking at the river, launching your kayak and your canoe. But this space downtown, in where it fronts 56th Street, could have more noise and be more active. So that's just a thought I have.
We did talk about this same concept, but I mean, it's got some cool components to it, like festival grounds. You could have the arts festival there, the craft beer. I mean, it would be a great place to do some of that. The reason, going back a couple years, that we decided not to do that and pursue Riverside was that, the whole live, work, play balance that we've heard about for 30 years now or whatever. You got to have a certain amount of density. You have to have people that live there. So we do have the apartments. We have, so there are people we got to have that component. We have to have the play part, which is what we're trying to do, but you also have to have the restaurant, I mean, you have to have the other piece. And if we go too far in any one, we build all apartments, we have no play, we have no business, we just have apartments. If we go all businesses, we've just traded a new strip center for an old one. If we go all green space, what's down there when there's no festival? Now, I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're talking about. Are we putting like a perimeter of, like small restaurants and food trucks or, those shipping crate things?
Right.
I don't know if that's what you,
I mean, any of that, I don't have a very rigid concept. I just have an idea, and I don't know exactly what the space itself can support. Size, it's, the size, what can go around it.
Right.
We've got Enigma certainly in the works, which if you go to Gulf Coast Town Center, you see there are restaurants alongside nearby, but there are also restaurants that are just off a little ways that you eat and you can just walk over. The same with Hollywood Beach. There's restaurants, there are some right there on the perimeter, but there's others that are around that you're not necessarily adjacent to the perimeter.
well, I mean, we can certainly do whatever the council's preference is as far as brainstorming it. My only concern is I think we're committed to the Riverside Park project. We've already spent money on that, and we're already and that area needs to be done something with anyway. Even if we
Yes.
did this, we'd have to still do something with that underutilized property.
I would agree. I'm not suggesting.
Yeah, so this would be in
eliminating
addition to that.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes, because
understand.
that project also wasn't very suitable for residential purposes. It makes the most sense.
Yeah,
as
I just
green
think,
space.
but now I understand better now. I just don't want to scrap all the work and money that we've already spent with the pedestrian master plan and the, the
No,
concepts, but I understand this would be.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is the funding piece, which I know always has to come later, but
Well, that would
We're-
obviously be part of the discussion, and would this be economically viable to do? I mean, I totally think it would add value. It's more of, does it shift us too far in not allowing us to develop enough?
okay. So, Board Member Schisler.
Yeah, my comment on that would just remember that the ability to develop Riverside Park was based upon the ability to sell those other two pieces of property eventually during the life cycle, because in 2035, 2036, that nut comes due, and under the current scenario, selling those two properties has essentially a zero net impact to the city, because TIF and everything else going along with it. If we pull that out of the mix, you're looking at a potential $1 to 2 million, maybe even more, $1 million worth of potential sales of that property. I can't remember if that's the exact amount. I'm trying to visualize the spreadsheet. I can't. But it was somewhere between $1 to $2 million that the city would actually have to come up with to satisfy the final debt in the end in 10, 20 years, 15 years, whenever that note comes due. So that would have to be something we'd have to consider. Conceptual-wise, it sounds interesting, but just remember there's a significant financial impact, not just to build out, but the loss of those revenues. We can absorb Riverside Park. It's going to be a little harder to absorb the other, and that's a legacy we're going to be leaving for somebody else to deal with.
Well, and that's where my question is to this board. Is this something that we can ask staff to look at the viability of maybe building something like this? For one thing, just on the surface, it provides value to the whole development because it creates a destination that can withstand a lot of programming. But again, if it's overbuilt in that area and we don't have room to put any businesses around it, we have another issue. But so I guess what I'm asking this board is if we can ask staff to give us some idea of, would this even be a viable project? What it would look like if we took that property and took some of it basically off the commercial development and I don't know, and maybe the parcel that's 8447 that has such small interest is a better location, but I don't know. I'm just asking this board to consider if you would be interested in asking staff to give us some.
Well, I would, I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak before the others, but we're running out of time, so I would suggest that perhaps this body, as the CRA board, make a recommendation to ourselves that we bring this issue back up at the council meeting under new business. I think that rule-wise, that would be appropriate. It takes the 4-minute timer off of us, allows for a little more robust conversation. My gut is, to your question, I think the idea deserves to be discussed and fleshed out. I'm not in favor of just taking the sticky thing and putting it on Carlos. I think that the next step should be for us to workshop this, or, there's some of this work we can do. We don't need to make them do all the work. We can do some of this. And we know what the property's on the market for, and we know what the range of potential property taxes. I mean, we don't know exactly because until it's built, but we got some idea, and what the anticipated life of the TIF.
I'd like to go back and review that spreadsheet, because I don't remember the.
Yeah, but I mean, that would allow us time to.
We can do that
Yeah,
ourselves.
that would allow us time. I mean, personally, I think I'm in favor of having this discussion. I just don't want to take the sticky thing and dump it on staff. We've got them pretty loaded up already, and we're getting ready to roll into budget season, so, that's my 2 cents, but I think we should discuss it at new business if that's.
Can I make a motion that we recommend to city council to discuss this under new business tonight?
Motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion? Board Member Kravitz, you haven't had an opportunity to chime in. We have a few minutes left. Do you have any initial thoughts?
My only thought is that I think it would be really interesting to explore sort of a mixed-use approach where we become a landlord for part of it and then use another part of it as a public space. So something mixed where you're also retaining control over who goes in and how it's used. That could be very interesting rather than selling it. But, Board Member Chisler's point about the financing is, of course, also really important. I'm not sure if the rentals would be able to compensate for the loss of tax revenue or sale revenue, but it's worth looking into.
Mayor, may I give a data of real estate?
If you can do it in about 90 seconds, we'd be, but you have to do it from the podium.
Great idea. Great idea. I agree with both of those. One of the challenges we've had is trying to get a non-spec building of basically 10,000 feet there at that 8901 space. If you were to do a park there with the band shell, we have a better chance of getting, say, a 12 to 1,600 square foot restaurant space that would want to have access to that park. It would make it much more marketable for us. My 2 cents.
Thank you. Any final thoughts? We have about 90 seconds before the city. We do. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all
By
those,
unanimous consent?
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I'll do it my way. Thanks. Okay, we are going to discuss this under new business at the city council meeting. Is there any other business? Mr. Bia, anything? Mr. Pauly, board members? Okay, we will be adjourned. See you back. Welcome, everybody, to the February 18th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. I'd like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices, and if you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, we begin our meeting tonight with gratitude that we live in a country where we are free to govern ourselves. We thank you for our staff and employees who provide such excellent service to our community, and for our residents and business owners who make our city such a special place to live. We ask for wisdom and compassion tonight as we continue our work to advance the common good of all. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And so, see a few new faces, or people that don't visit us very often, or people that this is their first meeting. And so we have a new tradition, if you can use those two terms together. We have a new tradition whereby we begin each meeting with a fun or interesting fact about our city or about the region. And so we alternate that duty down the dais. And tonight it falls to Vice Mayor Schistler. So take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I chose to do my edition of the historical facts segment to bring everybody up to date on our regional bus system. Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Authority, otherwise known as HART. It has been my honor to serve as the representative for the city of Temple Terrace, as the city representative to that board for the last 6 years. And the mission of HART is to take people to places that enhance their lives. HART was created by Florida statute in the late 70s. The charter was approved by voters by referendum, which included the cities of Temple Terrace, Tampa, Plant City, who later pulled out of HART, and the unincorporated areas of Hillsborough County on October 3rd, 1979. So it is a little historic. Membership of the board of HART is comprised of 8 members from the Board of County Commissioners, 4 from the city of Tampa, 2 are appointed by the governor, and 1 is appointed by the city of Temple Terrace. HART provides public transportation for the county of approximately 1.4 million citizens and covers an area roughly the size of the state of Rhode Island, which, put that into perspective, that's a little bit bigger than most people really realize. The system operates 132 fixed route buses, of which 40 are still diesel. The other 92 are compressed natural gas, and each bus costs about $850,000. They operate a fleet of 8 vans that are used for flex service. Flex service is being where service is requested from a fixed remote location to a local bus stop or the area transit center. Temple Terrace benefits from one of those flex systems, the only 2 in the area, and that goes from a telecom Hidden River over to the University Area Transfer Center. It also operates 75 paratransit vans that are special needs passengers who live within a 1.5-mile radius of existing stops. This could be for elderly, physically challenged, all kinds of benefits. It also operates 8 streetcars that are operating downtown Tampa in Ybor City with 11 stops. Now, all this rolling stock is supported by a heavy maintenance facility on 21st Avenue that has 2 CNG charging stations. There was an effort a few years ago to convert to electric, but the electric buses cost $1.2 million each, and they only have a range of about 130 miles, which doesn't cover any existing routes within the city very well. And it takes 7 hours to recharge an electric bus, but only takes 7 minutes to recharge a CNG bus. And the carbon footprint is almost equal. There is a streetcar barn down on 7th Avenue. I'm sure everybody's seen it, right off of 7th and I think it's 12th. The system operates 2,294 bus stops, 650 bus shelters, which we have 6 of in Temple Terrace, 6 transfer stations located around the county. The closest to City of Temple Terrace is Net Park, and has 2 transit centers. The closest to Temple Terrace is at the University Area Transit Center behind the Walmart over by the VA hospital. Now, this is all run by 819 employees, which includes 627 bus drivers and system unit drivers, which are covered by unions, Amalgamated Transit Union, and 55 members of the Teamsters. And the rest is all office and non-unionized employees. All of these items and stuff supports service levels that include about 9 million revenue miles. And the fixed bus routes, that's over almost 12.5 million passengers every year. The paratransit does a little over 275,000, and the streetcars do about 1.6 million passengers a year, for a total of 14.3 million. This is all done on 31 fixed routes that covers the greater metro area, the 2 fixed routes, two flex routes, which I talked about earlier. Temple Terrace currently enjoys 3 of these routes. The Route 6, which goes across from the University Transit Center, down Fletcher Avenue to 56, goes all the way down 56 to Net Park, and then ultimately goes down into Tampa. That is the busiest line in the entire system. It carries about 3,500 passengers per week on a regular basis, which is even busier than the Florida Avenue route that is the City of Tampa supports and costs for free. The Route 39, which goes from the Northwest County transfer station down Bush Boulevard to 56th Street, which then turns down and goes down to Net Park. And the third route that we benefit from is Route 48, which goes from the University Transit Center through USF, Fowler Avenue, all the way down to Davis Road, loops around Amazon, loops around the new VA, which is relatively new to what they had before, and that ultimately goes down 78th Street, and it's supposed to help with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm not really sure how much of a benefit is to that, but then it goes down to the Net Park facility, and as I said before, we had the 1 flex route. Comparatively speaking, the budgets, 1983, the budget for HART was $17.9 million. This year's budget is $117.3 million, so it's a significant increase. Funding is a perpetual issue for HART, and the system continues to work at post-COVID service levels. We're trying to get back to pre-COVID, but that's going to be like a $30 million just physical investment in new equipment and so forth to get us back to where it was. Temple Terrace generates about 2.5% of all the revenues for the system, and it receives about 2.45% of the actual coverage / passenger services. HART is a Tier 1 transit system that benefits all of Hillsborough County, and from my view, within HART, I think it serves Temple Terrace pretty well. So I guess everybody's probably pretty much asleep by now, but it's just, I don't know, it's just, it beats the old Tampa Transit Company, which was, from what I understand, what was serviced the area before, but I can find very little about that in records. So everybody can wake up now and proceed.
Thank you, Gil. So they also, HART operates the Tampa streetcar system.
Right, that's the streetcars.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you very much, and I do want to plug the Vice Mayor here a little bit. I know I'm friends with many of the members of the HART board, and when the Vice Mayor says he's on the HART board, he's understating his role there. He's one of the most active and valuable members of the HART board. And I hear that not only from one member who may just like him or something, but I hear that from all of them. And so thank you for your service, not only to the City Council, but to the HART board. And sometimes I think that takes more work for you than the City Council. So just a little plug on him too. So thank you. So Brian Hill, would you like to come to the podium, please? And I trust somebody's in there running the video room. Okay, Mary is, because I've been worried this whole time about the camera view, and like, okay, Brian's here.
We're just going to leave him on this camera the whole time.
We want to recognize you. I'm going to read from the script, but this is a very heartfelt recognition of Brian as our Employee of the Month. And I do think every month I say this, but you know, the bar is so high around here with our employee performance that Employee of the Month here is really a difficult thing to get, because we have some very high-performing employees, and to single one of them out, I'm glad I'm not on that committee, because that's got to be, we get some really, really good submissions. So, Brian Hill is being recognized as January's Employee of the Month because of his exceptional team working skills, his ability to solve problems, and his positive attitude. Also, your ability to shoot movie quality videos on a, $800 budget. Since Brian has been with the city, he has repeatedly proven to be a valuable asset. He's very experienced with digital communications, and what he does not know, he will research and find out, because city employees rely on him for his technical advice and knowledge. He's also constantly challenging himself to advance the city's communications technology abilities to be more efficient, advanced, and reliable. Not only is Brian proving to be a master in his field, but he has a positive attitude and goes out of his way to assist other employees with technical issues. Even though Brian has recently faced challenging personal issues, he has not prevented him from giving 100% to his coworkers in his job. In fact, he has spent considerable number of hours after his shift ends completing existing projects and starting new ones. As an example, his recent work on the city's Rock the City video was creative and masterful. With everything he has going on, his easygoing nature never wavers. He always has a smile on his face and a good word to say. Brian deserves to be acknowledged and recognized as an exemplary employee and the city's January Employee of the Month. And so, I have to tell you, as somebody who works a lot with Brian, shooting videos, and he really is a master at what he does. He can really take anything and make you look reasonably good, which is not easy to do. And I personally owe a debt of gratitude to Brian, because I can speak to a room of 1,000 people without even giving it a second thought, but put a camera in front of me and I can't say a sentence without botching it. And Brian has really taught me how to do that, and so I owe a personal debt of gratitude for that. So let's give him a round of applause. And now, for once, you get to speak on camera.
I know, this is weird for me. First, thank you. This means a lot. I think this has happened one other time in the past, but that was during COVID, when we had to move everybody outside and separate everyone out. But I want to thank the council. I want to thank Carlos. I want to thank the employee committee. Putting this together, getting the recognition is really quite amazing. I love it. It's more than I could ever expect. And I want to say thanks to Maria and Mary. Mary's killing it back there, for taking over and really helping me make this team as efficient as we possibly can be. And it's because of them that I'm here. So thank you, everyone. I really mean it.
See an angle?
One more. All done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a couple of presentations. Our first one is from Feeding Tampa Bay, and I'm told that would be presented by Thomas Mantz, who's the president and CEO. However, looking around the room, I suspect he's been replaced. So, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much. And I do have packets for everyone. May I approach?
Yes, please give them to the clerk and she'll pass them down.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor stated, I am not Thomas Mance. My name is Lorena Rivas Hardwick, and I am the Chief External Affairs Officer for Feeding Tampa Bay. Mr. Mance sends his regrets. He had a sports injury, which he is getting looked at as we speak. So he apologizes for not being here. But I'm so happy to join you, and Mayor, I can attest with Councilman Schisler. I worked at Hart for a few years, and he was a board member there. I mean, he's absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Councilman Schisler, for all you do for the community and for all of you today. So on to our annual report, which you have in front of you and on the screens here. Feeding Tampa Bay, we are, for those of you that may not be familiar with who we are a food relief organization here in West Central Florida. We cover 10 counties. We have about 1 million lives in our care. And the counties go as far north as Citrus, and we go as far south as Highland. So that's West Central Florida, all those 10 counties in between there. The individuals and all, let's see.
Is it still on?
On this side, it may be off. Just click on.
There we go. I remember someone saying, look at the green. There we go. So when I say 1 million lives in our care, we're talking about individuals that fall within what we call the ALICE households. They are asset limited, income constrained, and they're employed. They are families that every day are facing challenges, whether it is having to choose, if it's senior on a fixed income, having to choose between prescription medications and or providing a meal for themselves and or their family. It could be mom, dad, and all of a sudden an older parent moves in, so now there's an extra person in the household that they have to provide for. As you see these numbers, I pulled some numbers from the city of Temple Terrace just to kind of showcase, what we're looking at. But basically what we're seeing is about 16% of our population of children in the state of Florida are living in poverty. And 46% of the entire population of Florida fall within this ALICE household, which is someone, family that's making about $54,000 a year. But living in this community that we live in this metro area that we live in, you probably need about $94,000, $95,000 to actually make ends meet. So there's always a gap. What we do with Feeding Tampa Bay is not only are we providing the food resources, but we're also providing other human services as part of it. We have evolved as an organization. We've launched a strategic plan. We have a new mission, which you saw on the opening slide, which is people-focused solutions. So when we have the individuals coming through our organization, it's not just about food, but it's also about the other services and how we can start filling some of those gaps. Because when they're with us, there's a crisis, but food is not the root cause. The root cause is underemployed, it's healthcare, it's transportation. There's a array of things that could be going on. So we are now sitting down with them, with navigators, with social workers, and trying to resolve and bring them to self-sufficiency. As far as our county-wide numbers and our investment, this gives you a snapshot for Hillsborough County. We have about 29.7 million meals that we provide within Hillsborough County. And I will say that, we are monitoring. We don't play politics, but we do monitor everything that's happening at the state and at the federal level. I will say that for every one meal that an organization like ours can provide for food relief, SNAP does provide 9 meals. So these social services are important, and we definitely utilize them as we are communicating with our families or the individuals that are coming through. We try to get them registered for the different things. It could be healthcare, it could be SNAP and other services. We have 42 school pantries. We learned through various iterations of, what became the school pantry, that having a place for families to come, shop, get groceries, and take home for them, children and their families, not just betters the family, but it also creates an atmosphere where there is trust within the school that is being built, that's being built between the family and the administrators and the teachers. There's a lot more communication and there's just much more connectivity. So we are very, thrilled to say that we have 42 school pantries. And I had the honor of visiting with Temple Terrace Elementary School this past summer and talking to some of their administrators and meeting the volunteers and meeting the families. And it's just an amazing operation that they have there. We have nutrition educators in every county. Here in Hillsborough County, we do about 73 classes. And Fresh Force, that is our workforce training program. We bring individuals into our facility and do warehouse logistics. We do culinary arts. And we also do CDL driver's license. If you have not yet visited our new facility that we've been in for the last 8 months, please, I hope you do. In your packet, there's a little kind of opener where you can see the layout of the facility. And I will say, Councilman Schisler, Hart very generously donated a bus to Feeding Tampa Bay. We are dreaming big on what this bus can do. We see it as an opportunity for us to use this bus and maybe go to Pasco or Pinellas or Polk and bring individuals and use it as a way of transporting individuals to come and do the in-house training with us and then getting them back so they can then provide economic impact and return to the communities where they live. That $5.4 million in economic output through a Fresh Force program, it's a little bit of a dated number. We did this study a few years ago after the program had been running for a couple of years. And what we realized and what we noted was that 86% of the individuals after 2 years that had gone through the program, about 100 of them, were still employed. So it definitely works. It's something that we're very proud of. And I just wanted to give you a very small snapshot of the individuals to kind of get an idea of the individuals that we work with. 71% of the cohort that we currently have going through Fresh Force is making $1,500 or less in monthly income. 58% of them are food insecure. 25% are living in transitional housing. So that could be a shelter and or they're couch surfing. But those are the community members that we're impacting. And then as far as like what's next for us and how we can best collaborate with you as a council and the city, in our community, expansion of services. When it comes to food, we work in different areas. We have a wonderful program that we're working through Commissioner Simpson's office at the state of Florida, which hopefully we'll be able to announce at the end of the legislative session. But it is putting money into various different commodities to help our growers, to help our farmers. They are the foundation and the building blocks of a lot of the food that we rescue in Hillsborough County and beyond. Programs such as capacity building for agencies. During the hurricanes, it wasn't just, us as individuals, but our businesses suffered a lot. Our agency partners suffered. So being able to have grant programs that provide our agencies with refrigerators, with coolers, with freezers, and any other infrastructure that they may need to build them back up so they can continue to receive the shipments, receive the food, and put it out into the community that most needs it. Very soon, in the next week or so, we'll be able to also announce a new project. We are getting some grant funding from a great partner, and we'll be able to actually use this to share that with our community for those individuals that did have impact within their homes and or their vehicles. We'll be able to grant some dollars so that people can start fixing. What we're seeing is that we have a lot of people living in unhealthy situations that just have not been able to have enough savings to kind of refurbish and or lift themselves back up from where they're living post-hurricane. And as far as, for us, this is an opportunity. I'm glad that I'm here. It's an opportunity for us to kind of continue this conversation of how we can, in the future, continue our collaborations. I think, we are all very connected. You know who we are. In your packets, there's information for resources, and if we can ever be of service to your constituents and, provide other resources, provide information, provide guidance, navigation resources, please feel free to connect with us, contact us, because we are here for you and to help you serve the best that you can to your constituents in Temple Terrace. And with that, I close and open for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hardwick.
Thank you.
Council members, anything?
Thank you. Thank you for presentation, bringing this up.
Absolutely, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for taking time out to tell us about the wonderful organization, and please give our best to your injured boss.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. So next we have a very special guest who many of you will know, and some of you newcomers may not. But Miss Cheryl Tomasino is here, who is. I don't even know how to begin to tell the history between the Tomasinos and the city of Temple Terrace, but it's a very long history and a very accomplished citizen of our city. And so we welcome you. Thanks for coming to join us,
Thank you, Mayor.
and thanks for being here.
I was kind of your mayor for a while, now you're. You know what that means? The building is finally sold. Paul hired me on August the 27th of 1972. I always had some responsibility for that building. It was just, we literally were tearing out 3-inch rust-colored shag carpet. He had just bought it. You remember that?
Better tell them which building you're talking about, because not
Oh.
everybody knows.
Well, you said, okay, 234 Bullard Parkway.
There we go. That's the one at Ridgedale and Bullard, the old. Yeah.
It has been a blessing and a curse to us and to the city, I guess, too. He bought it, he had only started his own business, just moved out of a one-room office in what was called the Lightfoot Shopping Center. I don't know what it's called anymore. He loved the building, I will tell you that. And it was very hard when we had to sell it. Well, we didn't have to sell it. We put it up for rent and had the Whittemores and other realty groups, and I can't even remember who all else has been in there. And but then after we sold Sherwood and everything, the time had come for us to do some different things. And Paul, I'm sorry. We had to move to make arrangements. And we had family in Ohio, and we still have family in Ohio, and it's going to be hard to go back once you get back down here. It's just, it's special. But we did love the building. We took good care of it. We have tried to take good care of it, although I know not everybody would agree with that. But when you're 1,000 miles away and you don't have X-ray vision, you can only do what you can do. We have many, many happy memories of the building. People, I'm not sure who I know around here yet, that Christmas time, well, usually the weekend after Thanksgiving, or the weekend after that, we would have all the elected officials in Hillsborough County invited. And many of them came. And we had, James, how many big reels of cable or cable reels did we have out there with TVs? And so you could watch the Florida game or the Florida State game, and you could decide who you were rooting for at that time. It's been quite a time. It's been amazing. But we have a new owner. And what I think is interesting is 6 years ago when we sat down before we left here with a broker, and he asked Paul, what do you want to sell the building for? And as was pretty typical, he gave a number. I'm not going to say the number, but I will say that 2 weeks ago we sold the building for that exact number. That was a God thing. That doesn't happen otherwise over that period of time. But we are very happy to have sold the building. And we have the new owner of the building here. I've invited her and her mom. would you like to stand up and introduce yourselves?
You have to do it from the podium though, so we
Oh.
can capture you on, nobody will be able to hear you. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having us. My name is Juliana Grande, and I'm the daughter of Dr. Julia Barriga. We are a pediatric practice that is located right now on Bush and 50th. So we were lucky to find a very good location in Temple Terrace from Miss Tomasino. So we just made the purchase, and we are working and planning to keep the building renovated, and we're going to build a pediatric office with 18 exam rooms. We're going through architectural designs at the moment, and of course requesting permits and all that good process to help our community. And we are lucky to be in a city that has grown, and we've been in this area for 25 years.
And many elementary schools in the area.
Yes,
And
we're
junior
lucky.
high, you've got more than a clinic can probably handle.
Yes, yes. Many of our patients go to Temple Terrace, River Hills, and all the different schools around our city. And this is Dr. Barriga.
Doctor,
Very
welcome.
nice meeting you. Thank you for inviting us here. And I'm glad that we did this purchase because we've been serving this community for the past 25 years, seeing all kinds of patients that live in this area and trying to do our best. Our office remains small compared to all the necessity that we have here. We try to find more services for them to do the best that we can and use all the resources that are available. And now it's time to grow and help all these families. And then we appreciate that I feel that there is a very good environment where everybody's going to like observe or pitch in to make this possible on behalf of these children that we're being watching and taking care of health-wise.
I'm sure it's going to be an asset to the city, and that makes me extremely happy, because that was a big concern. And we had other proposals, other offers, but this to me is like the perfect, and keeping the front of the building, I mean, how much better does it get than that? So we're very pleased that you're able to do that. And
Thank you.
We hope you
Thanks.
will contribute to the city like we did. This has been, Paul and I were married in '79, and we lived within the city. Well, we eventually lived within the city. We had to bring the city to us. And it's just been a real experience, a fabulous experience. And it's a great staff to get to know.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much. We're glad. We're
Well,
very
thank
happy.
you and welcome to the city.
Thank
We're
you.
very happy to have
Thank
you
very
here.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I'm going to come back when it's finished, because I want to see the building.
Very well. Thank you.
You're invited, and
Yes.
everybody else.
We will let you know when it's
Yeah,
finished.
have an
Yeah.
open house, right?
Yes, we
Yes,
will.
yes.
Yes. Thank
That would be
you.
great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the privilege of us being citizens here for a long time. There's no place quite like Temple Terrace. I can tell you the little town I live in is nothing like Temple Terrace. But I'm trying to learn to make a difference there too. So I thank you all.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Tomasino, and you certainly have made a difference in the city. You and Paul, at the stories you've told me, and some of them I lived through towards the tail end of that, but we miss you. We're glad that you can finally close this chapter. I know this has been weighing on you for a long time.
Yeah.
We're happy to have new citizens in our city, and we wish you all the best always. We think about you, and our door here is always open.
Yeah, we closed on a Thursday, and the following Sunday I was at church, and someone looked at me and said, "Wow, you look great." I said, "Well, there's this weight off my shoulders." And there's nothing that compares to that, but
Well, if the council will indulge me, I'm going to go a little off script here. Would we be okay if we got a photograph with you?
of course.
So council, would you please join me down at the...
How are you doing?
We're going to put you in the center. I'll show you how we do this. We do this all the time. So you stand right here in front of my nameplate, and we'll get the council members in tight. We're going to take two, right? This will be the first one, and I got another one I want to take.
Okay.
Let's act like we like her.
I hope so. There you go. One more. Thank you.
Now, all the city employees, please join us. Now, we're going to have to get creative to squish everybody in. I figured you might.
How are you? Oh, goodness gracious.
So, Maria, you're gonna have to help us. You figure out what you want, how we're gonna switch in here.
Give
me to hold the camera.
Breaking the dam.
All right, we may have to get, Maria, we're gonna have to get people down here. There you go.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have anyone, let me get my phone.
Need us to move this?
Yeah, I was gonna move this to the side. Yeah, can everyone angle inwards?
Not you, you're in the middle.
That's gonna be in the picture, but, yeah, we'll Photoshop it. Great. I got everyone.
All right. Sounds like a bowl of Rice Krispies here.
Crackle pop.
Appreciate you. We have lunch tomorrow. I don't know. Think about where you want to go.
Hold in here.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from our February 4th meeting? And if so, is there a motion to approve them?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any corrections to the meeting minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. There are forms in the back of the room across from the police chief. If you wish to address the council, you can fill out those forms and hand them to the city clerk. I currently have one request to speak from Mr. Loeb. Mr. Loeb.
Good evening, my name is Charles Loeb, Terrace Park. And first of all, before I even take into my regular talk, I wanted to tell the Vice Mayor I heard every word and I was wide awake when he was talking about it. Now, the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight is that the thing I was talking about last time, and that's the Johnny Bench Invitational and the and anything for the same reasons I wanted to talk about it as last time. Number one, I wanted to see if we could find, find the program. That's number one that I gave. Number two, find to see if anyone else has a program. And number three, see if we can have experiences from people that actually were at the event in 1972. Councilwoman Fernandez told me that her mother was actually at it and meant Glenn Campbell. And I thought that was very interesting to know. Unfortunately, within my memory, there's only 3 autographs I remember within the program. That's Johnny Bench, Lou Pinellas, and Max Baer, who was Jethro on the Beverly Hillbillies. Now, how I fit into this program is about 4.5 decades later. I found it in a thrift store, the autograph program, and I offered it to the city. I did want to get some bus passes for the kids, but I kind of took care of that. But first, I went over and I looked to see if you all had the golf program. No use giving you a program that you already have. So anyway, make a long story short, that I went downtown on January of 2019. I got them to, let's just say I suggested that they give free transportation to the kids, or keep those back to school passes they used to have in January at the time over the summer. But the county commission, or the hard board, voted to give the kids transportation for free, so therefore I had no reason to keep the program, to give it to you all. I recall that I got a little gift card for it, and I also heard I got a donation to the youth around here, which is good from my point of view, that it helped for the program from the past serve the future. Now, this program you also might have other golf programs from other times, so that you all would want to go look into it as a part of your history, especially with your big event coming up on May 3rd. At any rate, I hope it can be found. If not, I hope someone else has another program, and I hope we can get more stories, and maybe the Beacon will be kind enough to print some stories if people do have memories from back at that time. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Are there other members of the public? I currently have nobody else signed up. Okay. Council members, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next, we have a resolution approving the purchase and installation of carpet at the Temple Terrace Library from Shaw Integrated and Turf Solutions. And Mr. Langfield is here to explain. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Carl Langfeld, Leisure Services Director. I'm here before you tonight requesting approval of a resolution approving the purchase and installation of new carpet at the Temple Terrace Library. This purchase will be from Shaw Integrated and Turf Solutions in the amount of $173,467.48. This will be utilizing the Florida Department of Management Solutions contract 3016170-24-SRCWL-ACS. This piggyback has been reviewed by our finance department and found to be consistent with our purchasing procedures. This project will include recarpeting the main library floor, meeting rooms, study rooms, and office areas. It will not refinish the floors in the bathrooms, main lobby area, kitchen, and one of the offices, which either have tile or VCT on them currently. The project will include removal and disposal, of all existing carpeting. This project did come in significantly over budget. However, we do have the funds in our budget to cover the cost of this year, but will require the postponement of the library bathroom renovations to a future fiscal year. This was discussed with and approved by the library staff, who felt it was very important to get the library carpeting done now, as that library carpeting is approximately 30 years old at this point, and showing its age through fading and excessive wear in high traffic areas. When we started looking at how we were going to be refinishing the library floor, we spoke with other library directors in the area, as well as different contractors, as to what the best flooring options were to be for the library, whether it would be with carpet, carpet squares, VCT, LVT, and other opportunities for flooring. What we found from talking to some of the library folks who have these other types of flooring, that cost-wise and with sound mitigation-wise, that carpeting is the best way to go. It is the most cost-effective way, and it also does the best job at mitigating sound in the library, which we all know is very important for that quiet environment. Library squares, carpet squares offer the opportunity to easily remove and replace a damaged section of carpet should it get stained or something spilled on it without too much effort. Libraries present a very unique challenge when it comes to reflooring, and you look at the price of $170,000+ to redo the carpeting in the library. The library book stacks have to be moved in order to replace the carpeting. There are very, very few contractors that have the equipment necessary to pick up and move these stacks and put them back properly. Plant City's library just went through a reflooring process in their library. The contractor that they hired thought they could do it. It took a project that was supposed to take about a week and a half, 3 months to complete, because their contractor was ill-prepared to manage the library book stacks. We found the contractor that will be doing the project in the Temple Terrace Library through discussions that we had with the head of the Hillsborough County Library Cooperative, who recommended him as somebody who has a great deal of experience specializing in libraries. He came out to the library on a couple of different occasions. We spoke at length about how the process is undertaken to move the library stacks and the very specialized equipment that his company owns in order to undertake moving those stacks without having to pull every book off of the shelf, put it in a box, keep it in order, and then put it back. They can pick the stacks up just the way they are, move them, do the carpeting, pick them back up, and put them back in place. Very specialized process to do. The project will take about 7 days to complete. During this period of time, the library will be closed to the public. Staff will work closely with the PIO's office to inform the public of other library branches available for use as part of the Hillsborough County Public Library Cooperative, as well as providing updates regarding schedules for reopening. Staff affected by the closures will continue to work on administrative tasks, such as gathering statistics for state aid reporting, developing summer programs, painting a staff office, and several employees have indicated that they would take paid leave during the time that the library will be closed. I stand for any questions you may have regarding this project.
Thank you, Mr. Langfield. Are there members of the public who wish to comment? Seeing none, council member questions. Councilmember Fernandez.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
For the price, you've said that it's higher than what we had budgeted for. Why? What caused that discrepancy?
When we were initially looking at redoing the carpeting, we had called some contractors out to come and take a look at this. What we failed to articulate properly and what they failed to consider is the extreme effort required in moving the stacks. They looked at it and said, okay, we have a 20,000 square foot location. This is what it costs to do, a square foot of flooring when you're putting carpeting down, without taking into account we've got to pick up about 60 stacks of library books, DVDs, et cetera, and move and relocate and get done underneath them and put them back. That's what caused the big difference.
Okay.
Other questions? Councilmember Vice Mayor Schisler.
I had 3, but you already answered 2 of them. How far over budget is it?
The flooring budget was $100,000. We had $75,000 for the bathroom renovations. So we are under the total dollars that we had budgeted for the projects within the library this year, but we will have to push the bathrooms out.
All right, thank you. My other questions were the employees and what they're going to be doing, how long the library is going to be shut down, but you already answered those. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Kravitz.
Did I hear correctly? It's a 24,000 square feet?
It's approximately 20,000 square feet.
Mr. Langfield, just to clarify for me, I think I heard you say we are using carpet squares?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the second thing, I'm figuring out the math from the background material. So the bathroom renovation, the budgeted amount for that was around 100 grand?
Correct. Yes, and we did get, I'd been working with Ron from Public Works, Mr. Skolnick, who's the city's new building maintenance supervisor. He's kind of taking the lead on that project and bringing contractors in to get quotes and whatnot.
On the
Some of
bathroom renovation?
On the bathroom renovations, yes. So we're already working on that. Some of the numbers that have come in are significantly less than that $100,000 number, so we'll be looking for that.
Will we have that a little firmer numbers by the time we start
By
the
the time we
budget?
start the budget numbers, yes, we will. Yes, in fact, I have one sitting right here in front of me right now
Okay.
that we've already gotten.
I don't have any other questions unless somebody else, oh, Councilmember Kravitz.
Just another question. The contract with the service provider, is that a fixed price, or is there a risk of additional overrun when he starts work?
There's very, very low risk of additional work. This was the price for the job. This wasn't something contingent on something that they may pull up when they unearth the carpet. He's gone and he's cut some carpet away and looked at what was underneath it, so he's fairly certain that what's underneath the carpet is what's going to be found and not anticipating any cost overruns.
Okay, council members, is there a motion?
Move to approve the resolution, or move to approve resolution to purchase and installation of carpeting at Temple Terrace Library from Shaw Integrated and Turf Solutions.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion of the motion?
Just one.
Yes,
When you do this, let me know. I want to come see what they're doing to move those stacks, what the device looks like. That's got to be something else.
Okay, any other discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Any carryover council business from previous meetings? Carryover council business. I have one thing. Oh, did you have something?
I have just a short.
Councilmember Kravitz.
Okay, so after the recent discussion about the city flag, I went ahead and scheduled a meeting for the public on the 25th of February, 6 p.m. So if anyone would like to come by and attend, sorry, what? And it's going to be here in the city council chambers at 6 p.m. So I was happy to get such a lovely room for that. And we have an email that's going to be going out. And I also spoke with Maria, which was very lovely earlier today, about how we were going to go about managing the process. She's looking into finding the older flags that were submitted and trying to reach out to everyone who submitted a flag previously, make sure that they're included in this process if it's possible to do. And we're going to be moving that along bit by bit. I also spoke to the Centennial Committee, asked them if they wanted to be involved, and didn't really get all that much interest on that. So they said that they have their Centennial flag. They don't really need the city flag for anything that they're planning. So my intention right now is to have the finalist designs by Flag Day, which is June 14th, and then have the final vote on the 4th of July. So I thought that would be very nice. We're going to have a lot of people out on the golf course, and I thought we could have a little booth out there and everyone could see the actual physical flags, the final contenders. When they're ready, we'll have a run of them and we'll put them out there, and then anyone who hasn't voted prior to that can cast their vote in person on the golf course on the 4th of July before the fireworks. So that would be very festive. And since the centennial year extends for the whole year, that also lines up with that objective. So that's just the current situation on that. And I've been talking to Fred over there, who's been a great help, and also Mark Fetterman, who's been a great help. And I imagine that the level of citizen interest is going to pick up once the publicity campaign starts going. And Maria's also going to help with that. I don't know if she's in the room, but she's going to help. There you are, Maria. She's going to help with the Facebook presence, which I obviously don't have, and all the other internet-enabled social media outreach efforts. So I'm very grateful for that help and for her effort, and I'm really happy that she's on board and part of the team. So that's, even though she's only been at her job for a couple of weeks, she's been incredibly helpful so far, and I'm really looking forward to getting this moving. So if anyone has any comments for me, I'm happy to take them on board. Otherwise, that's just a status report.
Thank you, council member. Council members? Anything? The one thing I would just I'm sure you're doing this, but just let's want to make sure that Mrs. Rodriguez is working under the umbrella of the city manager. So we have to make sure that city manager is plugged into this dialogue as well. So, good. Well, thank you.
I will absolutely be
Good.
relying heavily on on Mr. Bahia, so I look forward to
Good,
that.
good. Sounds like good progress. So thank you for the update. Appreciate that. Very good. I do have one item. It concerns the golf course, the country club. As you know, city manager and I have been meeting with them. I guess we started out bi-weekly and now we're monthly now, which is fine. For probably a year or maybe even longer than a year now, and they've been very good. They've been very open. We've had some very good discussions. They've been very clear on what they were going to do to increase revenues. And they've done some good things. I think they've taken the right path on some of it. They've done some membership drives. They've done some open houses. They've increased public rounds of golf through Golf Now. They've improved the course conditions. The course is much better than it was before. I guess they've increased the banquet utilization. They've got a terrific golf pro in there. So they've taken some good steps. And as a result of that, their revenue has increased. However, what hasn't increased is their payments to the city. And they come in, it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating because as a member of the Strategic Advisory Committee, Vice Mayor Schisler is supposed to be getting their financial reports and their P&L sheets from them on a regular basis. He doesn't get them. He continually has to go demand to get them, and we don't get them. Even when we ask for them, sometimes we don't get them. At the last meeting we had a week or so ago, they were paid up through September. They hadn't paid October, November, December, or January. Now, to be fair, January probably wasn't quite due when we were meeting, so I hate to throw January in there. But they're 4 months behind, and they offer no explanation for this, and yet they keep telling us how good their revenue is. And if their revenue is so good, and this is the frustrating part, we've had this conversation like a broken record every month. We know you're paying your other vendors because you wouldn't have any food to cook if you weren't paying your vendors. You wouldn't have any alcohol. You wouldn't have anything. So we know you got to be paying the other debts. Why are we the last check you write, and you only write the check when we hound you to death? And so they offer no answers. They just go, I don't know, I'm gonna have to tell them they better write the check better, and it's every month it's the same story. Now, as has happened before, the day after we had this conversation, they brought a check in to pay October and November. But they're still behind now December and January, and I know when we meet with them in March, it's going to be the same thing. And so I don't know what action I expect to come of this discussion. I really just want to let you know that it's very frustrating and it's not getting any better. Even though the revenue has gone up, they still won't pay us, and they offer no excuse. I also know that they have very little money in capital reserves, so if something significant breaks down there, we're going to be doing the same thing that we've done for years, and that is they're going to be here asking for us to help them come up with the money to fix this because they're so important to the city. This is not a thriving situation. This is why aren't they willing to pay the debt? And we're writing a check to the bank for this loan. And, it's not that I have a personal axe to grind with the country club. I don't. I write them a check for $85 every month for the privilege of doing that. I'm subsidizing them. I'm a social member. I haven't been there in I don't know how long. But I am adamantly opposed to our constituents, the taxpayers of this city, paying taxes that are being used to hold up a private club. I am adamantly opposed to that, and if they can't pay the debt that we're paying to the bank, then we need to close them down and take it over. At least at that point, we can tell the public, yeah, your tax dollars are going to support this golf club, but it's public. You can go there and get a hamburger, you can play golf, you can do whatever. I mean, yes, your tax dollars are going towards it, but it's a public facility. You're not holding up a private club. And I don't want my tax dollars going to that either because I don't golf, but at least that's a legitimate, so anyway, I'm frustrated, as you can tell. And if the circumstances don't change, I will be asking for this council to, let's vote them out. Let's just terminate the contract, kick them out, and we'll take it over. So I don't know what your thoughts or feelings are on that, but
Okay, I can start.
yes, Councilmember
And,
Chambers.
disclosure, I'm a full golf member of the Golf and Country Club. And I used to be on the board years ago before I was on council, and that would be a conflict, so I have not been part of any of the negotiations between the board or the city because that's not my role as council. I have asked last week if I could share some of this information because my feeling is I do not think that most of the board members know there's an issue. Now, whether that's a fault of people on the board, I don't know. But I don't think they know. I think I overheard one last week talking to a member, and the question was asked, is the city being paid? And the answer was yes. So I don't know that detail. Well, one of the other problems is their board meetings are on the first Tuesday of the month, which is our council night, so none of us can go there. You know, Councilmember Schisler is our liaison, or mayor could go there to see, and we could ask them to come in, the whole board, to do that. But a couple comments. Any citizen right now can play anytime. There's no restriction. They are not a full thing. There's Golf Now, which is a thing. They're not a private club. There's also member and non-member pricing in the restaurant. So non-members can go up and eat. It's a slightly more expensive than if you're a member. So some of those arguments they've been trying to help that so the citizenry, rightly so, can utilize that facility. But I think it's still somewhat of a communication issue, and I understand it's not us. So when I say us, this group and the city manager, but I still think there's more talking could be had. So that's just my comments on it.
Thank you,
And in a month or two, when they have the general membership meeting, I don't know the date, but it's coming up, they get a new board members and a new president. I don't know who that would be, obviously, so.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments, Vice Mayor?
And full disclosure, I too am a full golf member with the club, but I agree with Councilmember Chambers. I don't think that everybody there knows their status, but it's very difficult to communicate with that because we can't go to the meetings where you would just, and when anecdotally we have an opportunity, we share that information as much as we can, but then again, everybody's talking different things. I would like to suggest we just invite the entire board to come to a council meeting and ask them to come in, let's talk about this before the general membership meeting.
So
Councilmember Fernandez.
my suggestion would be, I agree, inviting the board here in their entirety. However, if the general membership meeting, I'm a social member, for disclosure, I don't golf either, but if the membership meeting is coming up soon and there will be a new board at the club, then I think we should have the new board come in, because if we have them come in before that, and then it's just a month later, if there's a new board, then we're going to do it all again right then. But I also would like to know if at any time we're going to entertain some discussion about the future of the club, that it might not be a private country club, or it's a hybrid right now. But what that means for the lease of the land, what that means for the land use, I'd like us to know specifically legally what this land could be used for and what it needs to be used for to maintain it and not have it revert back.
Oh, we can answer that right now.
Yeah.
Mr. Bia?
So my recollection of the lease is that it provides for two uses, which is a golf course or a public park.
Yep.
Aside from that, then it would probably revert to the heirs, should we want to do anything else.
Okay, well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we do something about it right this minute. I'm saying, as part of the discussion, we have to know, as a city council, that that's what the uses are that are allowed, so that if this council does go forward in the future and decide to make changes in the structure, that we make the right, we have the right information and we make the right changes in it. So I agree with bringing the board in front of council. I do think that we should probably wait until the new board is present, if that's going to happen very soon.
When is that?
April.
I don't know, but
Early April.
usually, end of March, early April. But I'm going to disagree with Council Member Fernandez on that. I think the old board needs to come in to hear it so it can be discussed at the general membership meeting. So when the general membership talks and says, is everything good? And they report, yeah, it is. I'm not saying that they're going to do that, but.
Well, I think there's value, I think both of you are
Yeah,
speaking
yeah.
logically here, but if we wanted to do it, why don't we bring the old board in, and then we can always, if we have to do it again, we have to do it again. Councilmember Kravitz, anything?
I'm concerned about the golf club. I think they're a great part of the community. I think I'd like to see them prosper. Ms. Fernandez can probably address this topic better than I can, but right now we have an asset on our books, which is the loan. If we were to move in the direction of taking over the golf club, that would become a liability on an ongoing basis. I don't think that we have the capacity in terms of our administrative staffing to handle a huge project like that either, from what I've been told, that we're all capped out on new projects. So I think that we should absolutely bring the entire board into here. We should have a conversation with them. And I'd also be interested in seeing what the terms of the loan are to see if there are any penalties that they've incurred because of their late payments. I think that we should enforce the terms of the loan. But I also think that
If we enforced the terms of the loan, they would have been out years ago. But at this point, we're just about paid off the loan.
Yeah.
And they still owe us $2.5 million.
No.
Because we've had to make the payments on the loan when they didn't.
If the terms of the loan aren't being enforced, then we should probably look at adjusting the terms of the loan to reflect the current reality. And then we can also include provisions in there that are to our benefit. That would be another idea.
Mayor, yeah, and guys, I really would hope that we limit this discussion on what ifs, but right now, the biggest thing is communication and payment schedule.
Yes.
And let's work on that, because if that gets taken care of, the rest of the conversation on loans and stuff doesn't matter. Right now, as a person that goes up there a lot to play golf, and certainly sits here and talks to people, I'm in the middle, and I see that things could be better, and I don't know how it could be better on the club side. I don't know where the disconnect is between paying us on time. Is it at the board level? Is it the office level? I don't know, and we have to, well, we don't really have to. I mean, we are the landlords. We expect this. But I think for our city, we need to work as hard as we can to find out those answers.
And the benefit of not knowing the background and stuff, if we enforced the terms of our contract or our agreement between them, they would have been out years ago. They don't, whether it's the payment clause or any number of other clauses, they are way out of compliance. And we can change the agreement and then they ignore it. I mean, they're not paying us according to the agreed upon terms now. They haven't for years. And so, yeah, if you're looking at, I mean, it wouldn't make any difference. We could go through that contract and change the terms, but they're way out of compliance with much of that agreement now. So it wouldn't matter.
I hear that. If they're in default, if any creditor, debtor is in default, I would always examine the agreement and try to find a way to align it with what people are actually doing, even if that means that we acknowledge that they're maybe on a different payment schedule. I would find some sort of agreeable minimum, and then
We
match-
did that. We did that.
have-
The contract says they're supposed to pay us $31,500 every quarter. That's what their agreement. They came to us a year ago and said, we can't do that, but we'll pay you 5% of our gross take every month until December of '24, and then it'll go to 7%. And we never formally accepted that, but we told them, well, we're not gonna change the terms of your agreement, but we'll take your money. Getting some money is better than getting no money, so you do that and we'll see how this works. So we've been accepting their this is their scheme. This is their payment scheme that they're not living up to. And so we've not gotten the 5% off of gross for October, well, they did October, November, they paid the day after we yelled at them. December and January, they haven't paid, and this is according to their payment scheme. So I don't know what else to do other than just tell them here, you know, you do whatever you want to do, because that's what they're doing.
One thing, excuse me, but
Yeah.
one thing I'd like to see happen is that the city, the council, somebody gets a seat on the finance committee. Because right now, we're blind. We can't see, we don't know what they know and don't know. So if we could figure out a way to enforce something like that. Yeah, we as a SAC are supposed to meet with them on a quarterly basis. I haven't seen financials since October. Okay, and I've repeatedly asked for them, and yeah, we're going to get them for you. They finally got caught up to October about a month or so ago, 2 months ago. So I would like to figure out a way that we could actually become more ingrained with us, so we could share the information, so we know that everybody's on the same page. That I don't know that we know of.
But for a year, we've been telling them, pick
Yeah.
a day of the month when this payment is due. You
Yeah.
pick the day, we don't care. It can be
Yeah.
the 20th, the 15th, the 18th, the 31st. You pick the day, but so that we know when to expect payment from the previous month. And every month, it's like, well, you know, we'll talk to them and see what we can do, and then they come in the next month and nothing's changed.
Yeah, I like Councilmember Schisler's idea about having a seat on the Finance Committee. I don't know if that's with their bylaws or not, but I think we could ask them that. So I'm going to make a motion that we authorize Councilmember Schisler as our liaison and also our accountant person to try to get on their Finance Committee.
I will second that so we can discuss this.
There you go.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I would respectfully suggest that perhaps that motion would be more appropriate after we've had that discussion with the board.
Okay.
And then we can talk to them here about that.
Also, I would have some questions about being able to appoint. I don't know what the ability is of this council to have someone on that board. Then things would come here. It's not a council-established board, but things that they're doing would come here in front of council possibly.
Yeah, I don't know the,
Yeah.
seems a little,
I just don't know if that would be
I don't
some
know.
sort of conflict or.
yes, city manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I was just chatting with the city attorney. I believe, and I'm not absolutely certain, that there was a provision, this agreement, as the council knows, most of the council, Councilmember Kravitz, you wouldn't know this yet per se, but the agreement has been amended multiple times, in both in paper formally and also in practice. And in one of those amendments, if I recall correctly, I think there was actually a city appointment to the Finance Committee, I believe, temporarily, when they were going through the loan process. No?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Well, maybe I stand corrected then. I thought it was, but it definitely is not in place today.
We tried.
You tried? Okay.
Tried.
Thank you.
The number of
You have your
documents.
microphone on?
Yeah. Says it's on. The number of documents fills a notebook that looks like that. And that's probably only volume 1. I've been through them many times in this last 7 years. There are many things that they must do to comply now. And periodically I make a list. I know it was discussed probably 5 years ago that we have somebody actually on their board, and they resisted that. That's how the SAC came up, and we were supposed to have 2 people on that.
Three.
3?
There's 3 on
There's
SAC.
three.
Oh,
There's
okay.
there's two citizens and one council.
Our current SAC members are Councilmember Schisler, Mr. Pogorlich, and Mr. Affronti.
Okay.
And that was approved by voted on by council.
So I don't know whether you all are still then meeting with them,
Periodically, yes.
but they are supposed to, under the agreement, they are supposed to be providing us with their finances on a regular basis, and they must do it upon demand. So if they're not doing that, that's a breach of the agreement right there.
Yeah, but that's breach 130.
Yeah, that's just,
Well, all you can do is send them a letter, tell them they're in breach, and tell them what the consequences are. Maybe you'll get a response.
All right, so, council, are we in agreement that we should extend an invitation, well, kind of a strongly worded invitation to appear at a council meeting?
Yes.
As soon
Do we
as-
need to rescind our motions or vote on it?
We would, or vote on it,
I
whichever.
rescind my motion.
I'll rescind my second.
Okay, so,
And a discussion on your question, would it be better served in a work session or a
It's as
council
opposed to a
meeting?
council meeting. I say workshop myself.
Any thoughts?
council members,
You don't have
workshop
thoughts.
works.
workshop,
But
Be able to make a motion.
Sorry.
workshop, work okay?
Absolutely fine.
I think it probably needs to be in the evening so everybody can be there.
Sure.
but
Okay, we can make that happen.
that works.
Okay. I don't think we needed a motion to invite him to a council meeting, but if we're gonna schedule a workshop, we do. So,
Move to hold a workshop discussing the golf course issues.
With as
With,
many of the
with,
board,
yes.
with the intent of
The
the entire.
the
board.
entire board, yes.
And,
And I'd like to see the finance committee there too, but that's,
and if I could ask you to amend your motion to make it not on a Tuesday night.
oh yeah.
I have
yeah.
no Tuesday nights open.
On a non-Tuesday evening.
okay, so the motion is to schedule
A workshop
with
with the-
the board of the country club.
Correct. Not on a Tuesday.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Thank you for indulging me. Any other carryover council business? Okay, new business. I know we have some. Is there any new business before Councilmember Fernandez? Because that might take a little time. Any new business? Vice Mayor? should-
No, not new business. I'm thinking about the other. Prior to that workshop, could we get together and make sure that everybody's on the same page so that we have an outline of what the current agreement looks like? Because I got a lot of it in my head, but there's probably going to be a few issues that we need to make sure that are expounded upon so that everybody on our side is at least on the same page.
Okay. Other new business to come before the?
Just
Okay.
the CRA recommendation.
Yep, Councilmember Fernandez.
So when we travel and we go to these various places with that type of city park central gathering space, it's a way that that area is very activated. And so if you look at St. Augustine, Hollywood Beach, and the Gulf Coast Center, they always have some sort of entertainment there. Obviously, during the weather season appropriate. But they're small. They have small bands there. It's free. They're free. It's just a way to activate the space and bring people into the area, and and actually I didn't name Tuscaloosa, Alabama also has a similar setup, and it's just a way that the community gathers. I think that it would be an asset to the development in that area, but At the same time, I do know that it needs to be balanced with, if we were to do this, the space that's coming off of the tax rolls per se, and off of the development ability. So it has to be balanced so that there's also room to have the ancillary, or, you know, the businesses and the restaurants and things, but, and I don't, and we obviously have to look at it, is it even viable to develop the property that way and not sell it? Or does it need to be sold in order to meet our financial obligations? To me, if we were to create a development like this, if there's the space there to do it, and to have the financial uses around it so that the partnership works, it adds value to the space, and it makes it a more viable business development.
Well, I don't know whether I think this is a good idea or not, but I don't know how any of us could until we have further discussion and exploration. And I mean, I think we need to all have open minds about.
Sure, and if I could, my 2 cents worth. First of all, I keep hearing when we talk about an event space, moving the art festival there. I don't see the art festival ever
No,
going
it's
down
it wouldn't
any
be
of the,
big
I mean,
enough.
certainly not River Hills property, and certainly not in this area, because there's just not enough room for parking for, I mean, the artists alone take up 130 spaces, so we couldn't do that. But anyway, but a small space that enhances that, we heard from Florida ROI that it might help. So maybe we task staff to work with Florida ROI, Mr. Pauly and his department as city manager, to explore that to see if it enhances their ability to sell some of that property. I don't know. I don't have enough information, you know.
I don't really, I mean, it's not my decision to make. I don't want to task staff with anything at this point. I want
Okay.
us to, I think we ought to get together. I mean, I can pull together some basic data about the TIF and what we're trying to sell it for and that kind of, I mean, some basic math, so that we'd have some framework to at least go
So-
from. But I think the first step in this is not to task them with anything.
Okay.
It's for us to get together and say, what could this look like? What are the ideas? You had a
Yeah.
different idea, right? We didn't, let's talk this out and draw it on a whiteboard and say, you know, what could this, let's do some brainstorming and some concepts before we start giving them stuff to do that they're gonna come back after doing all this work and say, that's not what we meant, we didn't want that.
Yeah.
I think, I'm very guarded about wasting their, not wasting, but spending their time until we know what it is we wanna
Can we
explore.
start some of this at goal setting? I mean, it would be a
I
goal.
don't think
I don't know.
that's a separate,
Okay.
I would be in favor of, I mean, I know we just scheduled a workshop, but it ain't gonna kill us to have another workshop.
As long as it's not a Tuesday night.
It can't, no Tuesday night.
Please.
But let's, we public meeting, we have it at Lightfoot or wherever, and we get some, those easels with the white paper or something, because I'd like to hear everybody's input.
Yeah.
And during that discussion, we'll all think of things that we're not thinking of right now. You'll say something that triggers an idea, or your idea will trigger, I think we need to schedule a workshop to have a more in-depth discussion and just spitball what this could be.
Well, I would agree, because I can't, if I look at that space, I don't know how big or small something would need to be to make space around it viable.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, without killing them, we can
Right.
get some basic numbers about the TIF and the tax revenue and the payment the loan, and, some big aerial photos of stuff, so we'll have something to work with. That, they can handle that. I mean, it's not, so how about we do that? Is that agreeable to everybody?
Yes.
Evening, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Evening?
I mean,
Not
I-
Tuesday, not
Daytime's during
Tuesday?
the- Daytime's fine too.
I'm semi-retired, I don't care.
Well, probably, what say you? I mean, I don't know, you're,
Good to go.
Daytime okay?
And even Tuesday
Yeah.
daytime's
Day-
fine.
Daytime is fine. I'm flexible. so-
Okay, so we would like to ask the city manager to schedule a workshop, get Jeannie to do her magic and put together a workshop, and I'll talk to you about kind of what we might need. Okay, we need a motion to that effect, please.
What's the name of this parcel?
8901.
89, yeah.
8901? All right, so I'll motion to schedule a workshop for not a Tuesday.
Well,
Tuesday
don't,
No, it could
day's
be
all
Tuesday
right.
day.
Not a Tuesday
Not
night.
Tuesday night.
can I ask you to not specify
Yeah.
the address, so if conversation strays over into the other lot, we've now exceeded what we publicly noticed?
So we'll have a workshop not on a Tuesday night regarding the development of the downtown area of Temple Terrace.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. Okay, other new business? City managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. At the last council meeting, I presented you with several murals for your approval. And then we had one that was still not quite in final form. I'm pleased to report we actually have the final mock-up of it, if somebody could put it on the screen. And there you go. This would be the mural that would be at Fire Station 1. And I believe there's actually a building mock-up, so you can see the scale. Hopefully we have that. There you go. So you can see the actual scale of the painting. The chief, Fire Chief Kemp, has looked at this and has approved it. I'm okay with it as well. It's really at this point council's discretion whether you want us to pursue this or not. If you do, we'll have the contract signed probably within days, and the artist can start preparing for it.
Council members?
I like it.
It's vibrant.
Yeah,
Who's the
Good.
artist? Who's the artist for this one? Do we know?
I can't remember.
Doesn't matter.
always
Doesn't-
gotta
ask. Well, I'm sorry, I was just
Ashley
curious.
Kaysen. Ashley Kaysen is the artist,
Okay.
apparently being told.
Then,
Are we good?
yeah, move to approve the,
Well,
mural.
I just think we need a head nod on this.
No? Okay.
Do we need?
I don't know. Heck,
Probably, I think you voted on the others, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, go
I
ahead.
see. Okay, move to approve the presented mural for the fire station.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Thank you.
And the final thing I have this evening is, at the last meeting, I know you recognized Chief Albano. I'd like to note that tonight will be his last city council meeting in his service to the community as chief. He's here with his beautiful wife. I just wanted to thank him for everything that he's done for me and for the organization. And I'm sure there will be many occasions in the next couple of weeks to do this as well. But publicly at the council meeting, I just wanted to say that when I came to the city, a manager is only as good as the team that's around him, and the chief has been exceptional. When I define integrity in my mind, I think of Chief Albano, and he's been a rock for me, and he will be missed. But I'm very much looking forward also to working with his protege, Deputy Chief Staley. I think he'll do great things based on the lessons that he's taken from Chief Albano. So I wanted to thank him personally for everything he's done for me and for the organization and for the public. So,
Chief,
good luck.
come on down. Your last council meeting. Now, don't make us set the 3-minute timer here. But I have to tell you, I don't even know where to begin. We've been through a lot together, both when we were both in law enforcement together, and then afterwards when I came to the city. But even here, 17 years as chief, that's unheard of in today's world, to be 17 years as a chief in a single department. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, we've been through so much here together, riots and COVID and corruption investigations and acting city manager and golly, I mean, no building officials in the city. I mean, just finding an interim city manager, and I mean, I don't even know if I start to think about everything we've been through. So I don't even know what to say, but But you're not done yet, but this is your, so anyway, I'll stop. And you have it.
After what the city manager said, it's got me a little at a loss for words, trying to keep my composure, but I have certainly loved the 19 years that I have been here in Temple Terrace. Temple Terrace was a special place before I began my career here in Temple Terrace because it's where I met my wife. Growing up, Temple Terrace was where all the rich people lived.
Yeah.
We'd come to Temple Terrace to see my uncle. Had two, one on my mom's side, one on my dad's side, and so many good things about Temple Terrace. But certainly having the chance to come here almost 19 years ago was a big part of my career. Didn't come here to be chief, I came here just to serve, take charge of the patrol division and see what happened, and God had a plan. Kind of like what Mrs. Tomasino shared earlier, God had a plan, and I am so grateful for every day and for all that we've went through. You have a great group of people working for you in your police department. And I know you know that you have a great group of staff members throughout this city. And that is what makes us successful. You like to say good getting better, great getting better. We are so far ahead of where we were 19 years ago. Interoperability between the staff. The staff works together. The staff doesn't have silos. The staff works together for the betterment of the city as a whole and our citizens. We have a city manager that I've enjoyed tremendously the last slightly over 3 years getting to know and is certainly working for. We have a council that has, for every one of those 19 years, been supportive of its police department, supportive of all of us, not just the police department. But from my perspective, I certainly appreciate all your support and a community to serve that loves its police department, supports its police department. That means a lot. It means a lot when things are going on in other places and people are having doubts in their police. This city has never turned its back on us, and I can promise you that Rob Staley is ready. He'll do a phenomenal job for you, and your police department will never turn its back on you. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for the privilege to be your police chief.
Chief, share with everybody, we were talking earlier today, at the worst, we were down, 12, 15 officers, something like that?
It was 15.
15, I thought it was like 15 officers that we were down. We couldn't hire people in, and they were leaving to go to other agencies. We were talking earlier today, I think the first time maybe ever, we now have a waiting list.
We do.
To get.
And quite, I don't want to, but.
No.
But quite frankly, it's because of the conversations that we've had. It's because of that support. It's because of the leadership of our city manager allowing us to try some new concepts in recruiting. And now we have a list of people. We just hired, gave a job offer today to a 7-year veteran from Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
And in the environment where agencies are giving thousands of dollars of signing bonuses to try to attract people, people can't find enough police officers, and we're sitting on a waiting list. So, man, you picked a good time to retire because you're on top.
We are, again, I got to mention it, the public safety building that we're working on together with fire and the property that you guys supported buying. I mean, long before my 19 years, that was a dream decades and decades back in the making. And you made it become a reality, and the support of the city manager goes a long way in that. That's going to be a tremendous addition to our city. And those are the kind of things, and everything else that I've tried to mention, those are the kind of things that mean a lot when you're trying to recruit. The stability that we have, the vision, the support that we have to finally have a home for our police department, and at the same time, quite hopefully be able to have a place that will house Fire Station 3 as well, and the services that will bring and allow us to provide to the city. All of it matters. It's a team. It doesn't matter. It's not me. There's nothing I've accomplished here by myself. Everything I've accomplished here is either because of the team that I have at the police department, the council's support, or the other directors and every member of this city. I'm sorry, I went over 3 minutes. I was good. You made me go further. But we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, not just as your police department, but our city. We have great directors in place. We have a staff. Doesn't matter what department that you're in. I've always asked my people just to give your best. I've always tried to give 110% of what I've had to give this city. And when you do that, when you have people that I have the privilege to work with on a day-to-day basis in all the different departments, when you do that, you can't help but be successful. And that's what makes Temple Terrace a great place to live and certainly an awesome place to work. So again, thank you for the privilege.
Steve, we all love you.
The last meeting?
I'm sorry?
This is your last.
This is my last meeting.
Deepest respect and admiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
City manager,
That's all I have.
you want to talk about fire hydrants or something now?
I have one question for
Yes, Councilmember Fernandez.
At a previous council meeting, there were some comments or some concerns expressed about the maintenance that exists, maintenance issues that we may be having at some of our other parks, and they wanted to make sure that we weren't adding to our park inventory without addressing maybe some of the repairs or issues that we need to make at other parks. That's it.
Is that a question?
Yes.
So, yes, so we heard those comments. In fact, coincidentally, we've hired a park monitor. We had a position open for a park monitor, which is basically a person that goes around to all the parks and make sure the trash is picked up and if there's work orders and things to be placed and things like that. And that position existed in our city system, but had been open for about 4 months. That position was filled in the last couple of weeks, has started, as Mr. Langfield's giving me a nod. So we anticipate that will help with some of those weekend concerns where you might have trash because the crews don't necessarily work through the weekends. But the park monitor will be working through the Saturdays at least, be able to, if there's trash that's there, be able to take out the trash and notice and observe there's other indications that we need to do some additional maintenance. If there's other issues, we're going to the Leisure Services Director, Mr. Langfield, and I have had this conversation, I think, multiple times now since that council meeting about a plan and looking in the budget for next year. You may have some items in there related to just enhanced maintenance at our park facilities. So there's more to come.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney's report.
So as many of you may recall, the city had elected some time ago to participate in the opioid litigation that many of these states had initiated against numerous companies that either made, sold, and distributed opioid painkillers. And in 2022, former AG Ashley Moody had announced that the state of Florida would be getting $3 billion over the next 18 years. Florida, in fact, received approximately $205.7 million in year one, and the state has finally begun to distribute those funds. Walmart was not sued by Florida, but Walmart approached the state to negotiate an additional settlement, which it's not going to have to pay until year 2, but money will be coming from Walmart to the state then. Ultimately, that's going to flow to regionally. The state is going to be getting money, counties and cities are getting money, and Florida will receive $84 million of, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, naloxone, which is an opioid reversal drug over the next 10 years that's going to be distributed by Walmart, so that's part of the settlement. Cities and counties are going to be getting 15% of the settlement funds. Regional settlement funds will be paid out during the 4th quarter of each year, and 30 to 40% of the total, well, they're going to be getting that money, they're going to be getting 30 to 40% of the total that is received. And today, the City of Temple Terrace received 6 checks from the various drug companies totaling $31,822.61. So, and this is supposed to be used in a particular way. This doesn't just go into the general fund, but it's supposed to be used for, say, developing of prevention education programs and working with the schools and assisting people who may be directly affected by this opioid epidemic, but primarily prevention and education. So that's it.
Good. Questions, council members? Thank you, Mr. Schoen.
And we'll be getting money each year. So this isn't just it. So this is a kind of an 18-year plan. We'll be getting money each year.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, another question. How are we communicating or how are we disseminating these funds? Or how are we going to plan on doing that?
It's a great question. So several months ago, when we received the first installment from one of these settlements, because it came with that restriction, we had to think creatively. This is a line of service that typically cities, our city at least, doesn't do. So we, at the time, were looking for regional partners. I mentioned this to the city council at the time, who might be in this business, and I think that's what we ended up. I have to confirm that with the finance department, but I think we ended up trying to partner and have those funds used in our general area by a nonprofit. It actually works with this type of business, not business per se, but this type of practice. So we'll have to look at that, see if that's something we can continue on an ongoing basis.
It's in the works.
Yes.
Okay, council members, anything else? Any other business to come before the council? Directors? If anybody speaks now, the others will kill them. Okay, very good. We will be adjourned.